Hello, I'm John Brink, and we are podcasting on the Brink from Central British Columbia, Canada. And for all those people watching us from around the world, they say, oh, we know where Canada is, British Columbia on the West Coast, right? Right, that's where we are. Today we have a very, very interesting guest. His name is Abi Asija. And Abi is an entrepreneur, an author, an operator, best known for building high profitability land business grounded in simplicity, integrity, and consistent execution. Over the past 8 years, Abi has completed more than 700 land transactions across the United States. Abi, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. As I was saying in the pre-show, I have to repeat it. I am a big fan. I saw your profile, and I was like, I want to be like John. You're like a successful entrepreneur, bestseller author. You do bodybuilding in your 80s. What don't you do? I love it. I'm so honored to be on the show. Yeah, exactly. I saw it. It's on Amazon. Yes.
Yes, I'm the oldest competitive bodybuilder in North America at 85, and that I say always, everything is possible.
It's so impressive. I love it.
So, Abi, tell us a bit about yourself. Where did it all start? And then as you went through your initial period of kind of getting educated and getting into business, and then ending up in land in particular, and then land transactions, entrepreneurship, and then you also are an author. And tell us how it all started.
Right. So my story is somewhat similar to yours, actually. So I came from India to the United States to complete my master's. And after I did my master's, just like most of the international students, I did the 9-to-5 job for 10 plus years, got burnt out, wanted to do something, of my own. Real estate was a big interest for me and my wife. So we started exploring different real estate strategies. We looked into house flipping. We looked into Airbnbs. We looked into, apartment flipping. And all of those required, like high initial capital, and we just didn't want to, take on the debt. So then we ran into land. So what was interesting was that you don't need a ton of money to get into land. You can buy, small parcels of vacant land in Nevada, Arizona, in California, like on the west side of the US, and not for a lot of money. So we bought stuff for like $5,000, $6,000, like small 2.5 acres, 3 acres, 4 acre properties. And then we listed it on eBay at the time, and we sold it within like a few months. And I was like, whoa, this works. So once we know, okay, so this land thing works, we can make money on it. Then we were like, okay, so how do we scale this thing so we can actually replace our salaries so we don't have to do our 9-to-5s anymore? So that's where it all got started. That's when I, started learning more about what business is, what entrepreneurship is, and, that's where the story began.
Now, the other part with you is that I always say I'm 85 years young, and obviously still very, very active and try to stay fit. It's all about quality of life for me. But the other part that I have to note, you also new to the United States, or not new, but at least you came from India originally, and where you had your background. I came from Holland in my early 20s, and then had to kind of learn the language and get to understand business, what it was all about. Now, the other part with you, a couple of observations. You're a very good communicator, that I already noted. And then the other part, you look younger than, so do you mind sharing with us your age? Because when I look at your picture, I showed it to one of my assistants here, and she said, oh, he's still very young. I said, oh, okay, well, ask him.
I'm 40.
40. That's
Yeah.
that's young
Yeah, that is young.
compared to me.
I do. I don't know how you do it. You're lifting so much weight and you're 85. Like what is the secret? I mean, I have to ask. I know it's you're interviewing me, but I have to ask, what is the secret?
Staying the course for one, so then diet, exercise, being careful about knowing and understanding your body. Then the other secret for me, I've been working out for about 16 years, and working with a trainer that makes sure that I'm pushing but not too far, and at the same time I go 4 times a week, sometimes 4 or 5 times, but most of the times 4 times a week, work with a trainer, and I stay the course, and I do go out of my way not to miss any time working out. And I believe that is one of the secrets. And then getting guidance as well. In my case, I have a trainer, but for those people that feel that is expensive maybe, it's worth it in a way, but at least get guidance and then stay the course. Right. That's what I did. And after working out for and I had all the same thing as other people had. I was too much weight, and I did the same as a lot of other people used to do. Is at the end of the year we go through, at the end of the year I'm going to do this, that, and this, that, and that, and so, and I'm going to buy a membership to a gym, and then 2 weeks later we can find 100 reasons why we're too busy to go to the gym. And I stayed the course, and then after I did that for about 6 years, by then already I was in my late 60s, early 70s, and somebody said to us working out, he said, "Hey John, have you ever thought about competing?" I said, "Me? Really? Yeah." And so I started then, I like goals, and so I started working out more serious, and then I started competing. And in 2017, 2018, and I competed bodybuilding and physique in northern BC, came in second bodybuilding, third in physique. That qualified me provincially. That did the same there, qualified me for the nationals and the Arnolds. And I loved it. And obviously then COVID came, and now again I'm working out, and there's a picture of me again getting ready for
very
2026, impressive. Go to the Arnolds.
No, it's super impressive. So just to recap, so staying consistent and having the right knowledge,
Correct.
Right? Those are the 2 keys.
Correct.
Perfect.
And diet.
Diet.
And it's all about quality of life, understanding your body. So what I do, the 2 are extremely important. My wife is a vegetarian, and so I used to be not quite a vegetarian, but I'm about 90-10, I would say. So what I do is I sleep between 7 and 9 hours. When I get up every morning, I have 10 ounces of water before I do anything else. I have about 4 eggs in the morning, soft-boiled eggs, and then I have an avocado, and then from there on in, I go to work. Then I go training at mid-morning, it suits me best. Then I have a double protein drink, then that's my lunch, and then I usually have something more substantial in the evening to give me protein to build. And so that's what I do. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do drugs of any sort, and and I stay the course,
Yeah, no, that so many similarities between, how staying in health versus the same qualities or same principles applies in the entrepreneurship world, right? You got to stay consistent. Exactly. You got to be, knowledgeable. You got to be learning from the right sources, and you want to, always be, like very disciplined, right? So
exactly.
Same principles.
So that being said, though, Abi, is that if I look at business, and we do a lot of business. I have 4 silos. The one is lumber manufacturing, the other one is warehousing, distribution, and logistics, the other one is real estate, residential, commercial, and industrial, the other one is media. And so, but
Right.
looking at the lumber side, I'm operating in the province of British Columbia. Most of our market is in the United States. It is tough, difficult in there right now. Housing starts are low compared to demand for lumber is subjected to softwood lumber duties, in combination with, on top of that, being tariffs. So on the lumber that we manufacture, send into the United States, we pay 45.16% duties and tariffs combined, which is devastating, and make it very, very, very difficult. And I've been in business, in the lumber business, but all the other businesses as well, together for more than 50 years. And I have never, ever seen it as difficult and challenging as it is now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm like curious to know like how you're adjusting, you know?
Yeah. So the challenge is that how do you stay in business and then at the same time, kind of looking at CUSMA, having the Canada, the United States, Mexico working close together under the umbrella of CUSMA. I hope that is in negotiations now, but it has been challenging. It's challenging going forward, and I'm not getting involved in politics, but saying that even our friends in the United States we have been dealing with for many, many years, it's a challenge all the way around. And mortgage rates are high, and banking are a challenge in Canada. And I presume maybe, and you can kind of share that with us, how the banking is a challenge here and other places of the world. Share with us how difficult it is, and particularly as it relates to real estate, dealing with finding financing and transactions.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's an interesting point. So we deal mostly with like lower value land,
Right.
and and disposing of lower value land is mostly the people who are buying those are retail buyers who are buying it either for investment purposes or they're buying for recreation purposes, like they have RVs, and they want to like park there, you want to camp there, right? Those kind of things. And there are certain percentage of people who actually want to build on land. So since our buyer pool is like mostly retail, like they're not like like white collar making a ton of money, so they're more like blue collar, making like average salaries. So far it hasn't hit our business that much. Like we have seen the downturn, like we are seeing the effects, but it's not as crippling as like you were describing with like 45% tariffs and whatnot. So knock on wood, it is not as bad for us. But as I mean, it is still not as good as it was like few years back, as during COVID era, like properties were flying off the shelves, but now it has slowed down. And but when the times are tough, those are usually the times for entrepreneurs to double down on the fundamentals, right?
Right.
Keep your expenses low, make sure you're very focused on marketing, make sure you're not like spending money where it should not be going, make sure your team is running as efficiently as possible, right? So those are the fundamentals that we're focused on. I mean, I know you have a bunch of books. I wrote one book as well. It's called The Land Business.
Yes.
And so here's the one thing why I was so excited, because I wanted to run the core principle that I talk about in the book. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. And since you have so much more experience than I do in the world of entrepreneurship, so here's the core principle, and please tell me what you think of it. So the amount of money, so this is a core principle. So the amount of money a business makes is equal to the amount of goodwill they have in the marketplace multiplied by the number of offers they make to customers. So let me explain what I mean by this, right? So say we are in a small town. John has a coffee shop. Abi has a coffee shop, right? And a customer comes to John to buy coffee, and John is like, well, would you like to buy croissant with it? Would you like to buy a pastry with it? Would you like to buy, like, upgrade from a small to a medium, right? So you make like 4 or 5 offers, and then you increase the average cart value of their purchase, right? And so you do like 4 or 5 offers, you sell them. When they come to my store, Abi's store, they're like, oh, I would like to buy coffee, and I just give them coffee and they go on their way, right? So if we run the business like this, if John is running a business where John is making like 5, 6, 7 offers per customer, and Abi is making 1 offer per customer, at the end of the year, when we look at the revenue numbers, John's business will be like 5x, 6x, 7x more valuable than Abi's business, right? So
Yes.
that's the number of offers part. And the other part is goodwill, right? How much trust, how much, like branding, how people feel about John's business. If they feel good transacting with him, then when John does make those offers, people will take them, right? So that's the core principle formula that I discuss in the book. That's like the overarching principle, and then I have like sub principles that go under it. So I wanted to get your thoughts. What do you think? Do you think that is a valid principle that can be applied across industries?
There is no question about that, Abi. And as you saw, my books I started with virtually nothing when I came here, but I came with the idea. Let me give you just a little bit of background for those people watching us. I was born in northeastern Holland in 1940 at the beginning of the Second World War, and we saw far too much that we should not have seen, and we were liberated by the Canadian Army April the 12th, 1945. So, and as a 5-year-old, I was so impressed by this that I knew as I grew up I would go to the land of my heroes, Canada, and I did in my early 20s. And then the other dream that I had is start a lumber mill. And my grandfather was a master carpenter. My dad worked in lumber. And so I knew then I would go to British Columbia, Canada. And so that's what I did. And then when I wanted to start from nothing. So, I left in July of 1965. I had, a suitcase, 3 books, 2 sets of clothes, and very little money. Flew into Montreal, took the train across Canada, 4 days, 5 nights. My God, that is a long way. So when I came to Vancouver, I went to the immigration office, couldn't speak English, didn't know a soul, and didn't have a job. Obviously, couldn't speak English, but fortunately there was a German fellow, so I could speak some German. I told him I wanted to build a lumber mill. He said, go to Prince George, Central British Columbia, about 500 miles or 800 kilometers for our European friends in northern BC, right in the center of the province, big province. And so came off the bus here, and I had my suitcase, 3 books, 2 sets of clothes, counted my money. I had $25.47. But what I did have is attitude. I've always been positive, even at the worst of circumstances. Passion, whatever I do, I give it 125%. And work ethic. And even now I say I work harder than anybody. And I get up at 5:30 in the morning, always make my bed, and then I always think I'm late. And so that's kind of how I started with 2547, leased the property, rented the property and some equipment, and then I had to find a niche in the lumber because I couldn't buy a lumber mill. I didn't have any money. So, and I had experience in Europe on making products that were unique to the marketplace, where we took shorter pieces of lumber, glued them together so that they were more stable than the straight pieces, and And everybody said, oh, that will never work. Well, 50 years ago when I started out with virtually nothing, 3 employees, we built it to quite a company 50 years later that is unique in the marketplace, and it all touches with the elements of staying the course, trying to, under sometimes challenging circumstances, get through the difficult times, because it goes with the housing markets up and down, and then develop a reputation of being reliable and dependable under our brand name. And so that's kind of how I build it from the ground up.
Right.
With all those elements that you refer to in the land business, with those elements, they are built into the business. Predictable for 50 years, consistent, creating products that are reliable, and looking then for other opportunities that are complementary to what we are doing now. Although right now we are in what I call the survival mode on the lumber side of the business. The other,
Yeah. I was gonna say, so the elements that you're describing, right? That you were being consistent, you had reputation. So exactly the same things you're saying, but I just call it goodwill, right? So I bunch them all together in the word goodwill. So it's perfect. So the thing I want to understand, right? So if we are going with this core principle, right? So what was your unique selling point? You mentioned, lumber, it was much stronger, it was, you kept like short pieces and you glued them together. What was why couldn't a competitor copy you? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, and that's interesting, Abi, that you say that. And so when I started, a lot of people said, oh, that will never work. There will not be a market, blah, blah, blah. But there was. And so I went to the marketplace in the United States, mainly in the Texas region, where heat, and they were building an amazing amount of growing, as you well know. So that became one part of our market. And so as we then became larger, producing more product, other people went into the same business. And so, but not too many of them survived because it takes that unique knowledge and the elements of developing a reputation, developing consistency, access to fiber, always been a challenge, still is today actually. And so all those elements became important. It made us survive and where others didn't. And so the most challenging period for us has been today's market, where we are because of lack of housing starts and relying on the market in the United States. But in regards to finding a niche and stay again consistent, where the advantage that I had, my experience in Europe, where I had worked in the industry before I came here, it gave me a set of skill sets that other people did not have. And the other one is being consistent. Attitude, passion, work ethic, stay the course, don't give up, and all of those other elements that go with, but made me uniquely different from a lot of other people.
Yeah, I mean that's a solid point. Especially like these days, I'm sure you are seeing it. Like it's so easy to get distracted. Like I have like a mentorship, where I teach other people how to do the land business. And when they book a call, a lot of times they're like, oh, I'm doing Airbnb, I'm trading crypto, I'm trading stocks, and this land thing will be like my passive side business. And I tell them, okay, so you're saying you have 5 hours per week to work on the land business, and then you're going to come into the marketplace and you're going to compete with people who are working 60 hours per week. How does that make any sense? Like that's exactly what you're saying, right? You are 100% focused. You have this unique skill set that you learn in your youth in Europe, and then you're bringing it to the marketplace. You already have an advantage, But then you have your competition, they're distracted. They want to copy John, but they don't want to, work harder than him. They don't want to put in more effort. They don't want to be more consistent. They don't want to stay more focused, right? So
Exactly.
and then you take advantage of that, right?
Exactly. And then, there are always challenges in the land, housing, and all the other things, interest rates we are affected by. And so the key is to get through the difficult periods. And obviously we've seen several of them and many times. And that can be a challenge to any business, that, especially right now.
Yeah. No, but if you survive this, right? You can imagine how strong you will be coming out, right? When the things do improve.
Correct.
And then you will be unstoppable, because if you survive this hard period, nothing else can stop you in the future.
And that applies to many people in other areas of going through difficult periods and difficult times. So that's probably one of the elements that you refer to in your book, The Land Business, is that, and that's who you are, and that's what I do, and but sometimes it can be really challenging.
Yeah. So John, here's another principle. I would love to get your thoughts. So, way to grow a business. So there are only two ways to grow a business. The first one is to do more volume, like do more marketing, do more advertising, get more customers, right? So that's one way. The second way is to make your existing customers more valuable.
Exactly.
What do you think? Is that something that you have seen in your entrepreneurship journey?
Oh yeah, there's no question about it. That's always the case, to make your customers, to build those that see you being consistent, have the product available when they want it, understanding the marketplace and being consistent in quality. And then in terms of growth is delicate, because if you're in a business where capital expenditures of infrastructure is very high, then increases the risk, in downturns, when, banking may be, or financing may be delicate and difficult.
Right. So, I mean, yeah. So I feel like, yes, you have so much wealth of information. I would love to get some more thoughts from the principles that I talk about, if you don't mind.
No.
Okay. So the other principle that I talk about in the book is the best advertising is a delighted customer. Like, if the customer themselves is delighted by the something special you do for them, that kind of helps build the referral traffic, like people refer to other customers. So tell me if that resonates with your experience.
Yeah, it does. And then branding is important. Like for me, BRINK is on all our packages that we put on our lumber that we manufacture, and very clean, very simple, so they refer to the name is important. The other part is important, having been in the business for more than 50 years, so you're well known in the marketplace. And then the other part is important, is being consistent, quality wise. And then in our business in particular, which is a big business, a lot of capital consolidation has been in it, is understanding the politics around it, understanding international dealings, all of that. But branding your product is very, very important, and stay consistent. Because once I see a package of our lumber, may it be anywhere in the United States, California, Arizona, or Texas, wherever I go, if I go down there and I open up the package, take the paper off, I know exactly what I'm going to see. Because we are consistent with our quality.
Right. How would you so branding is an important aspect, but how, if someone is starting out, right? What kind of advice, so I'm relatively new, I've only been doing entrepreneurship for 8 years, and you have been doing it for decades. So what kind of advice would you have for someone like me who's like newer to entrepreneurship? How I should think about branding for my own business?
Understand your business. The better you understand it, the better you can, and you have a good foundation. Your education is good, your background is good, your partner in life, your wife, from what I'm hearing you say, both of you work together is very,
Yes.
very important. So, and starting out the way you did is important, and develop a reputation in the United States where you already have had 700 land transactions, and obviously then also raising your profile in terms of Abi, and then obviously the other part that I find important in my life, although I started fairly late, is I'm working on my 6th book. The first one is this one, Against All Odds. And not about how successful John is, but rather going through all the ups and downs. And that again is important. It raises my personal profile, and I believe that part is important. And then the other part that you are doing and I'm doing is that the raising your profile and mine, because my last name is on my branding, is that podcasting has become important about 5-6 years ago when I started doing that on the local basis. Then started with a local television station, and then COVID came, and then saying we couldn't do that anymore, saying, what do we do now? And I started building my own studio, and then started working with Podmatch. And then podcasting has become important for me, not only that it gives me satisfaction in terms of interacting with persons like yourself, but persons from around the world on all kinds of different topics and issues, and it raises my profile as well as my products and all the things that I believe in and that are important for me. And the combination of all of that will help and assist to give your brand, and in your case,
Right.
your brand being your name, likely in through your book in particular, your podcasting that you do, and the exposure that you're getting, and then your reputation that you build of 700 companies, and being an author, and then at the same time do counseling to a certain extent of people that aspire to go into entrepreneurship or land in particular, but also entrepreneurship in a general way.
Right. Okay, so John, we discussed entrepreneurship, we discussed branding, we discussed what it takes to be an entrepreneur. But what we did not touch is sales. So please give me your thoughts on like how do I work on my like doing more sales in general. So like we've been doing a lot of volume in terms of like how do we get to our customers as quickly as possible. Someone calls in, we get to them right away. Like if someone, how like you see on Zillow, you can click a button and say, oh, I want more information, or like Facebook Marketplace want more information, and other land related websites, right? So they have this button, right? And then when people go there, they don't just click on one listing. They would go like and click on, oh, want more information, like across 20 different listings, right? So one thing we learned recently was like we were putting in so much focus on like, oh, how do we do objection handling? Oh, someone says, oh, I don't have the money. How do we objection handle that? Or someone says, oh, I need my spouse's permission to move forward. Like how do we handle that scenario? Or someone says, oh yeah, I really want to buy this land, but I just need to think about it, right? Like how do we handle that, right? So all of our focus on the sales side was going on how do we do objection handling, how do we persuade people to move forward, right? And all those things. But in reality, like when we were like doing all these tests, what we found out, what actually works is not necessarily how good you are at persuasion, but how good you are at like speed. Like if someone hits that button, requests more information, like how quickly can we get to them? Like they are right there in front of the computer, ready to buy. And if you don't reach out to them within like 60 seconds, they're like moved on. Now they're like at the kids' soccer place, they have to go to grocery stores, they have to do their laundry, like they're moved on. So speed to lead has been like a big thing for us. And I would love to hear your thoughts since you have so much more experience. What are the nuggets, gems on the sales side that we can use and all the audience, whoever is watching, can like learn from and implement in their business, to further scale?
So what we are doing is 4 silos. The one is lumber, the other one is warehousing, distribution, logistics, the other one is real estate, residential, commercial, and industrial, the other one is media. And so, in terms of lumber manufacturing is a commodity business. Lumber, in the mind of a lot of people, lumber is lumber in a general sense, although the builders, in particular, looking for species for one. Let me give you an example. In northern British Columbia, where we operate, it is spruce, pine, balsam fir. It's a softwood lumber, highly recommended for building houses in particular because it is easy to work with. Our main competitors are the U.S. Southeast, southern yellow pine, which tend to be having features as a species much more difficult to work with for building houses. So the species is a preference to the builders in a general sense. The other part happened to our industry is that and it's always been a North American industry mainly, but also going to mainly Asia and other people now. But initially, late 40s, early 50s, there were, and I don't know how familiar you are with British Columbia, but if you fly over British Columbia, it's a big, big province. It takes you probably 2 hours, 3 hours to go from north to south, is that all you see is timber. And there used to be a lot of sawmills here in the Prince George region where I am. There used to be 800 little sawmills. Now there are less than 3 or 4. So consolidation of the industry, commodity business with the bigger companies consolidating, and then the smaller ones looking mainly at value-added manufacturing, finding niches in that particular market, which has always been delicate and difficult. And for us in the province of British Columbia, we're the longest surviving secondary manufacturer of doing niche products and finding a market for it probably all along the way. So in terms of how do you stay in business is that you have to get recognition for the product, for the species that you in particular make available to the marketplace, and then you have to react quickly to the market that already recognizes you will be there with product on a consistent basis, so they will always check on you in the marketplace. And then at the same time, that if we produce products in northern British Columbia, ship it all the way to California, Arizona, Texas, it may take a week and a half to get to the marketplace. So,
right.
and then all kinds of other issues come in. So it's a different market in a way. So the way is understand your market, understand the product that you manufacture, develop a market for it, and then be able to stay in the market even when things are delicate and difficult.
Right. But totally understand. But do you have like an outbound sales team, or I'm guessing it's more B2B, right? Business to business. The other businesses are buying from you, right?
So what we do mainly is that the lumber industry is a commodity business in the United States as well as in Canada. Most of the lumber being manufactured in Canada goes to the United States or in Canada itself, and we, to a certain extent, ship lumber into other markets that may be Asia, China, Korea, and all of those kind of places. So
Right.
so that's kind of where the market is, and then it goes usually from primary manufacturers that have numerous different products. So a company like us may have a relationship with them, and then they may also have a relationship with other wholesalers that then sell to other wholesalers in the main market, who then sell to the distributors, warehouses, for instance, or to builders. But we mainly deal with wholesalers.
Right. Okay. So it is business to business. So
Correct.
So the question is, how do you like, what kind of sales process that you have? Is it like outbound? Like, how do you find new wholesalers? Do you have like a sales team that's like actively looking for new
Yes.
wholesalers, or
Yes.
is it
We
like
do. We have a sales organization that just constantly stay in touch with the market, know the market, have done that for a long time, know the ones that, so there is interaction there, and that can be either other organizations on a fee-for-service basis that they're involved, or our own team that sells into the market and through either distributors or mainly wholesalers that then will go to distributors, then to the builders. But we don't deal with the builders directly.
Right. So here's I'm like just trying to pull the gem out of like the genius behind John's companies, right? So here's I'm just trying to get to the gem. So
This is
how
mainly,
do you
I'm talking mainly about lumber now, not about warehousing.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Just on the lumber side. I'm just like in like completely like the sales aspect of it.
Yeah.
How do you like, so say you have like bunch of wholesalers that are your clients, right? That buy from you. How what is the process for the sales team to like find new ones? Like if you want to like, okay, so we have 20 wholesalers we work with. How do we increase that number, so maybe you can raise the prices a bit, or maybe you have more diversification amongst your buyers, right? So what kind of the sales process is there?
Everybody has a different process depending on what size of operations you have. There's some major operations like Weyerhaeuser is major U.S. company. Then Canfor is a big organization here in Canada. West Fraser is another one. These are big companies that have major commodity sales, either in lumber, but also pulp and other related products. And then you have mid-sized companies that are manufacturers, use timber as an input, and are medium-sized companies that deal with the system, as I said earlier. And then you have small to medium-sized secondary manufacturers that rely on lumber as an input to make other products, not timber necessarily. And so we are one of those, and we then have developed a relationship where we work with certain wholesalers in particular, and our sales department sends out offerings for the week that they will interact with and then negotiate pricing as well as delivery and all the other associated issues. So it's been a process, and in some cases, those are larger distributors or companies, integrated companies already that also do outside products and selling it into their organizations, or we do our own directly to wholesalers. So we do both.
I see. So you mentioned a key thing, that your sales organization sends out these offers, like the new
Correct.
offerings,
Correct.
right? So
Right.
what is special about that offering that your competitor is not able to like come up with?
Well, again, look at lumber manufacturing is that you manufacture the products depending on the raw material input that you have available. You have a list of products that you manufacture that everybody is aware of. And those are very common products that are pretty much being used virtually on a daily basis by buyers, depending on what the market is like, and housing starts in particular are very important to that. So they will look at that and then look at other offerings they get from other similar manufacturers in Canada, some in Western Canada, some in Eastern Canada, Central Canada, and the same in the United States. And they will look at that in terms of preference to species, prices, availability. So is it ready to send in the next week? Is it ready to send within 30 days or whatever the terms are?
I see. Okay, I get it. So it's mostly comes down to pricing and availability. And
Correct.
pricing, are you usually, it is a commodity product, as you mentioned multiple times. Does it usually come for the wholesalers? Does it usually come down to like, oh, how good the price is? Is that like the deciding factor for them?
Yeah, so what happens, Abby, in our particular case, lumber manufacturing, that is a document that comes out on a weekly basis. They call it random length pricing. That includes all the pricing of products in North America relating to commodity manufactured products. And so that is kind of a guideline for manufacturers as well as wholesalers and buyers. And then depending on supply and demand, they may negotiate prices around that. And so there is a system in place that gives us a fairly good idea where prices are at, depending on availability. And that's basically based on housing starts, market rates. So if we look now at the United States as a market, mortgage rates, 30-year mortgage rates are somewhere in the area of 6%, slightly below or slightly above. That's high, so, and probably slows down home building, although there is a desperate need for home building.
Right.
It becomes then a question of when will it be stimulated? Well, once the mortgage rates come down to between 4 and 4.5, preferably 3 to 3.5, that will push up housing starts, which then will affect lumber prices and other products along the way. So we watch that carefully in terms of what is the United States doing in terms of mortgage rates, interest rates, and in Canada right now, mortgage rates, 5-year rates are somewhere around between 3 and 3.5% in that area. So, so that's still a challenge for us. So we look at market improvement for lumber manufacturers in the United States is, in particular, housing starts are low.
Right.
Mortgage rates have to come down first. Then there is also concern by the buyers of homes, or they want to build houses, but is a challenge right now. Probably too many challenges. People have anxiety about the economy, about a number of other things that are going on. So they're looking for stability and looking for lower rates as they go forward, which then will pick up the housing starts, which then means supply and demand pushes up prices of commodity items like lumber.
Right. Okay. Did you see similar effects in like 2008 crash as well, or is it like a different time, like different type of crisis right now?
Yeah, it's a good question, Abby. That's probably when we went through the 2007, 8, 9, 10, so I always said to people, I thought I had seen the worst of it in my 50 years before until that came. And I said, I've never seen anything like what happened during that period, but I was mistaken because the worst period is now for us. if you look at the last 2 years and the next year, 2 years going forward, is going to be the most challenging, because as long as the U.S. economy is, to put it mildly, sluggish, and mortgage rates are way up there, it will be a challenge. Add to that softwood lumber duty rates. The softwood lumber duty rates have been put pressure by the U.S. manufacturers on the Senate and Congress to put duty on lumber imported into the United States from Canada as high as 35%. It used to be around 5, then 10, then 12, then 15, 18, and then right now that's about 35.16%. But then what happened here as well in the last 2 or 3 months, the U.S. government added to that import tariffs of another 10%. So our duty rate on lumber exported to the United States is at 40, in our case, 45.16%, which is devastating to the industry here. But it has really not helped the U.S. producers, because housing starts are so low. And then the other part about it is that the likelihood what will happen, at least from my perspective, is that duty rates and tariffs ultimately will be paid by the buyer. And although there may be a period where it isn't, but it's obvious that once housing starts pick up, supply and demand sets price in commodity items, and prices will rapidly go up higher and higher. And so, but in the meantime, it has been a real challenge for the forest industry and lumber industry in British Columbia and in Canada. Probably 50% of the sawmills here in British Columbia have been shut down because of the challenges with duty and tariffs, and our reliance on the United States has been such that we have to find markets elsewhere, but that's easier said than done. So it's a challenging time.
Do you think it's like, have you thought about like going deeper in the home market of Canada? Like maybe you can increase the market share there?
Well, if you kind of look at it, so the United States has about 350, 360 million people, close approaching 400 million. In Canada, we have about 40 million. Suffice to say that we are, in terms of taking the volume already that is going to the to the Canadian market, adding to that the U.S. market that would affect prices, is not. The volumes that we use here cannot possibly absorb that particular volume. And even now still it's a challenge. But the amazing part about it is that the U.S. Lumber manufacturing business is also a challenge to the, especially in the U.S. Southeast. But ultimately, the duties and tariffs will adversely affect, in my opinion, in the opinion of many others, that ultimately that when things come back to a sense of normality in terms of mortgage rates, that prices will come up rapidly, as it will be with a lot of other products that because of the current situation are being depressed, but prices will come up rapidly once demand increases.
Right. You mentioned you have other businesses as well. So your real estate side of business, I'm guessing the lumber supplies are coming from your other business to the real estate. I'm guessing it's you're developing real estate, or is it something else?
No, not so much. We are mainly, we have property, but that's a challenging business as well. So we do residential. We have some residential, but we've aggressively disposing of that. We have commercial and then industrial, and everything is kind of on hold, more or less, in that area. Warehousing is very strong by us. in our region and in our companies. And the reason for it is, as you likely can realize, we have amazing resources in British Columbia and in Canada. And so smart money is looking in particular at northern BC, northeastern BC in particular, for two reasons. The one is Asia interaction with products from Asia going to China in particular, going to the, I always use the US northeast part, you know, and most of the ports, and from all the way California up to Vancouver, BC, are plugged up in the ports, too much coming in, not enough railroads going out to the US Northeast, in particular that Prince Rupert, which is close to us, west of us actually, the lot more traffic from Asia to the US Northeast in particular is coming through Prince Rupert. The rail system has more room than there is in the United States to the US Northeast. And, you know, so it is 4 days shorter to go from the US, go from China all the way to the US Northeast. So that has a lot of potential.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know you've been like a little bit going through the slump right now because of the economy and tariffs and whatnot. But I mean, you have like survived so long, so I'm sure you're gonna like come out ahead, you know. And
we hope so.
And when you do, I mean, you have to, as you said, like a lot of the you know, sawmills, they're already dissolved, you know. So the remaining players that are left, you know, and I'm sure you'll be like one of them. Once you come out ahead, like there is nothing stopping you, right? So there's light at the end of the tunnel.
No question about that, Abi. The key is, you know, that it's a delicate period, but I always say I've seen it all, we've done it all, but as you said earlier, how about 2007, 8, 9, 10? You know, I thought that was the worst I've seen. No, the worst that I've seen is now, is by far, and in terms of duties, tariffs, and concerns about. I was born during the Second World War, and I've seen it all, and for those people that believe that war, if there is a war, after the war is over, everything goes back to normal, it doesn't. And if I look around the world right now, looking at the Ukraine and Eastern Europe, I look at the Middle East, I look at China, I look at Russia, I look at Venezuela, potentially Cuba, and all of those things, I'm concerned about, you know, that stability. There is nothing more important than peace in the world, and I believe that we should all try to find ways in which we can have a peaceful world. And then the other part, you know, the United States, Canada, and the UK created freedom after the Second World War in Europe. I remember it well. The Marshall Plan, led by the United States, Canada, and the UK, revived Europe, and I'm just worried that CUSMA and these countries, Canada and the United States and Mexico, working together is critical, leading the world in the future.
Yeah, totally agree. I know, John, we're running out of time. There's like one last thing I wanted to ask you. So you know, since you have just so much wealth of experience and, you know, just so much entrepreneurship, how do you think in terms of hiring? Like when you like, you know, you have all these companies in like leadership spots when it opens up, how do you like, what are the things you look for? Do you put more emphasis on the experience someone has, or do you put more emphasis on just like the general intelligence the person has?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Abby, is that I always look for attitude, passion, work ethic, what follows is success. And then, experience is critical in my mind. And then somebody that is stable and becoming a leader and getting respect is critically important. But finding the right people, the biggest challenge that I have had in the last 50 years is finding the right people for the right locations has been by far the biggest challenge.
As in, like, if you're hiring in like certain part of Canada and that like has lower population, it's hard to like get good talent. Is that what you're saying?
Not so much that part, but especially in terms of management and key roles in particular. And the world is the place, so we advertise globally for the right people in the right positions.
Right. No, but if it's like a high level management position, I'm guessing you would expect the person to be there at the location, right? Like, so that you will like pay like relocation bonuses or stuff. Like, how do you incentivize people?
Well, by having a stable company, and then as the owner of the companies and the main shareholders, making sure we give them respect for what they do and make them part of our team. But it's always a challenge, so there's no question about it, because there's so many things we have no control over, right?
Right. I mean, that was like one of the things I wanted to ask you, because, hiring, it's like so hard to figure out whether that person is like genuinely like, like, because people will say whatever they want in the interview, right?
Right.
So how do you figure out, like, I'm sure you have a ton of experience.
Experience is the most important part. Find out who are they, what have they done, and then take your time. Make sure that there are no surprises or things that you should have known. And so that is critical. So I have another commitment here, Abi. I think it was an amazing podcast. We obviously have a lot more to talk about. So let's make sure we stay in touch. I'm going to have Scott stay in touch with you, contact you. Tell us once more about your book, and that is available. And this one here.
Yeah, it's the land business. So I wrote this book. Mostly it's not like a how-to book. It's mostly like principles, timeless principles that people can apply, like, even 100 years from now.
Yeah.
So that was like the lens that I looked at, because it was like, oh, I want my kids and grandkids to be able to read that book and like get the principles. Because, if I write a how-to book, it's going to get outdated very quickly. Software changes, markets change. So that was the intention. And we discussed a bunch of principles, that we talked about earlier in the interview. And that's like one of the reasons why I was like asking you all these nuanced questions.
I like it.
Because I wanted to extract like the gems from your like 50 plus years of entrepreneurship. So thank you so much. I'm really honored to just having this conversation with you. You have been like a complete role model in like the last 24 hours. Once I started reading about you, I was like, oh, I want to be like John. It's like awesome. I'm like Abi, so glad.
It was amazing. Let's make sure we stay in touch.
Yes, we will.
In this podcast, we will release it within 2 hours.
Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Abi. Take care.
Yep. Thank you.